Welcome to the Workiz podcast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to navigating the dynamic landscape of the home service industry. Delve into the world of business strategies, innovation, and growth as we bring you insightful discussions on the latest trends, success stories, and expert advice. Welcome to Workiz Unplugged. My name's Caitlin Dwyer. I'm an account executive over here, and I'm going to be the host. I wanted to do a little bit intro for our listeners who don't know you. Jacob serves as the CEO of Sure Lock and Key, a distinguished locksmith and security firm catering to clients nationwide with branches in Connecticut, New York, Rhode Island, Texas, Illinois, Arizona, and Florida. Founded by Jacob and his three siblings, the company evolved from fielding just 1 to 2 calls per day to managing a multi-location locksmith enterprise worth millions, receiving over 200 service requests daily. Jacob's entrepreneurial spirit became evident during his early days as a locksmith, prompting him to focus on business expansion. Through his initiatives, which included website development, marketing strategies, and implementing efficient software solutions, he orchestrated the company's growth trajectory. With meticulous planning and execution, the modest locksmith venture transformed into the thriving enterprise it is today. We're thrilled to have Jacob join us on our podcast, where he'll share his remarkable journey and the pivotal steps he took toward achieving success. So that's a little bit of intro on Jacob there. Excited to learn more from you today and be able to talk with you a little bit more about building a locksmith empire as well. To start out, I really wanted to know what inspired you to, pursue entrepreneurship in the locksmith industry, and how did you envision building a $1 million business?
To start with, actually, I didn't plan on building a $1 million business from a locksmith business. It was kind of the first step. I always knew I'm going to make money, even though the money was never the actual main goal. The main goal is to actually build and to produce and to create. Obviously, you always need to think about the money as well, but I mean that was kind of the main thing is create something. And when I came to the locksmith business, my brothers already started 10 years before me as technicians. And when I came in together with my brothers, we basically started an actual business of our own. And I just looked on the structure that the industry had at that time, and I said, well, we could make this a big business. Didn't think about the $1 million when I started thinking about we could make this a big business, right? That was like a big number at that time, but just went one step at a time now. And every time the dream became bigger, you get to 1 million and you want to get to 2 million, you get to 2, you want to get to 4, and so on.
Yeah, amazing. I can really relate to wanting to create things as well. That's typically my goal and wanting to use that part of my brain. But building a $1 million business, it takes a lot of tactic too. So I'm curious to see what strategies you implemented to grow your locksmith business significantly.
Well, in terms of as I said, I started without really having a exact path and direction where I'm going to. So it's kind of to build it as you go. And I think that's eventually I would say that's one of the strategies if you're starting a business from scratch without having any money and you're someone pushing you from the back with money. I think one of the strategies is to know how to adjust fast, learn fast, change things fast, and not to be afraid basically to try, right? Because as long as you're still small, you could always, you have the ability of controlling the business. So if you try to grow, the business doesn't make money, you could always get back on the truck and fix the mistakes you did, right? That's something that you have when you're small. And that's one of the major things that you have in your power to actually control your growth and make sure you're not getting into debts and stuff like that. The second thing is to try to have family next to you. We wouldn't succeed without having the family there, because I was the person that I was on the field for a long time, learned the business, but then I started basically pushing to the back office to try to get the business to grow, right? From a 1, 2, 3 technician business to a big business that works in a lot of different states. And I wouldn't do it without having those partners on the ground, continuing and pushing the business from the ground.
Amazing. So it's both not being afraid to really try, and having the people around you who are going to help you as well. What do you believe sets successful businesses, apart from the rest in a competitive market like the locksmith industry?
Well, a few components, right? The first one is when you're still small, right? You could, as I said before, you could control yourself, like to go out to a job, not to go out to a job. When I started, when we started the business, I used to work at 4 and 5 and 3 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the morning. Like a call used to come in, I used to go out no matter what time it was, and it was like that for years. Till today, I specifically like working at night, and today I do it because I like it, right? I mean, at that time, I didn't like that much to go out on a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's something that I did. So I assume that's one of the main things if we're talking about like actually getting yourself to the next level, right? To be like dedicated 100%. It doesn't matter, and you need to push yourself, right? The business owner needs to push himself every day. It's not like you're an employee. You come in and you just do whatever needs to be done and you go home. You gotta have that second voice in your mind pushing you and telling you basically to go out there and get it done.
Yeah, it's like the determination then is like a big one, and the willingness to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning. I mean, that definitely sets you guys apart. I'm a little bit of an off-topic question, but I'm curious, how would you get yourself up at 3 or 4 in the morning?
Well, first of all, I mean, I wake up from phone calls. So today I have my phone on silent mode or whatever it's called.
The do not disturb.
Do not disturb. But I used to have the phone sitting right next to me. And again, it's not only me, it's also my partners, right? They put the same exact thing. They were there the same amount as I was at that time and until today. My partners work every day, probably 12, 14 hours. I work an average 15, 16 hours a day. So I think it's just, that's already being already a workaholic, right? That's already has nothing to do with the actual business. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's to put in a lot of time in the beginning. Obviously, to succeed with the business, it's not only it's not good enough to put just your time. You need to also learn how to do some time management and to understand how to be productive in the hours that you are working, because there is a limit to time. I could tell you today I'm busy, like super busy, but at the end of the day, I always think about people like Elon Musk, or I don't know, that type of people that are running companies that are much bigger than mine and have a lot more than I have on my plate, and they still somehow manage to do all of that with, I don't know, 10 hours or 8 hours or even less of work. It's possible to do it also with a bit less hours. Again, I'm using, not married yet, so using my time now to kind of accomplish whatever I could before I settle down. But as soon as I settle down, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be able to work 16 hours a day. So,
right.
So my recommendation to people is just to, if they're still young, obviously to push and to give those extra hours then, instead of giving them when you're 40 years old.
Right. No, thank you. I mean, that's super insightful, super helpful as well, especially like you mentioned, like the doing that when you're young too, right? Putting that time, that energy in, and learning how to do time management. And I know you've been doing this for some time now, but I'd love to hear like some common challenges or obstacles you face to get you to this point that you're at now.
Oh well, there's lots of them. Is there any specific you want me to go into, and a specific
Sure. Yeah, I think I guess maybe a better question would be like, what advice would you give people who are just starting out, who want to end up growing a business to the scale that you have? Like, what advice would you give them to be able to, that you wish you knew back in the day?
Well, I wish I would come educated and learn a lot of things that I learned in the hard way. Kind of try to get pre-education. So to the people that don't have, and I did not have any education, not even a regular high school education. So, but people that do have it, I mean, I assume they're going to be starting in a different place than I started. But anyways, I say to everybody, open a Udemy. If you know what's, I assume you do know what's Udemy, and just take some courses and some basic things that are related to every business. And that's financials, budgeting, some marketing, basic marketing courses, and trying to think what else when you actually start, like in the beginning. I think those are like the two main things, because at the end of the day, if you know how to run your financials and you know how to do and you understand some basic marketing at the beginning, obviously everything else is just like something you acquire as you go. So it's not something that you could actually like too much prepare yourself to.
Right, because there's so many like nuances, like as you go, and you kind of have to think on your feet as well. Can you give us like, an example of a time that you had to think on your feet or had to overcome a challenge during your time of scaling the business?
Oh, almost all of it, right? I mean, my first, when we started, one of my brothers was the guy that knew how to do like the basic, how to touch a computer in a basic way, right? How to open like a listing on Google or stuff like that. But none of us really understood in marketing or anything like that. And we paid someone, I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 to build us a website that I could say today that we kind of got ripped. And the website was a website today that I know the industry. It's a website that should cost maybe $2,000-$3,000, maybe $4,000 in the worst case scenario. So, and that's what actually got me to understand wait a second, if that's the amount that we need to pay on a website, so how the hell are people making money in this industry? And that's where I started to learn myself how to do it. And the same thing I had, like any challenge that I had, if it was in accounting, we had like we started to have multiple businesses, multiple technicians and so on, and start to do accounting. And when you go to a regular accountant just to do some regular bookkeeping, the cheapest you're going to find is like, I don't know, $700 to $1,000 a month just to do some basic bookkeeping, right? So, I mean, if you add that up and you start adding a lot of different things that you need to outsource, it becomes very expensive. So I just understood that for me, if I really want to expand, the only way to do it is to actually learn it myself, and to try to reduce the amount of costs that you're paying to a person that is an outsource to do your work, right? Obviously, you do it as you go, right? You don't start in the first place and you start hiring and learning and whatever. You do it. I mean, you learn every time you come to like a place you get stuck. You sit down, you learn it, and you push forward. That's kind of challenges that I came into. And again, there's lots of them. That's just like a few examples.
Right. Yeah, it's just definitely life, right? And it sounds like what helped you too is really the preparation before that, to mitigate anything that would come up, as well as living and learning. And through experience, you learned how to adjust. And it sounds like from our conversation earlier too, adaptability is a big reason that you guys got set apart overall. What like Workiz tools or features have you leveraged to help streamline and grow your business?
Well, I've said this in the past already a few times. At the end of the day, a business cannot. I don't believe in a business that works with paper. I mean, it used to be the way to work, right? but also in the days that it used to be like that, you didn't have the option to grow your business in the way that you could grow it today, with all the new tools that you have out there that are offering basically to kind of minimize the amount of people that you need to have, and also get to a point that when you're looking for an invoice that you gave to a customer a year ago, you don't need to go through a pile of boxes to find an invoice of a customer that called you a year ago. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's like if you look at it in a advanced world, right? If you move to a system like Workiz, for example, and I started with Workiz when Workiz just started, and it had only the basic features, and kind of Workiz grew together hand by hand with us, right? I mean, while Workiz was growing, we were growing, and like the features, I mean, it's everything. Again, it's from the customers, having your customers all in one place, listening to the recordings of your dispatchers to understand if you have someone answering the call and canceling it because he's saying the wrong things on the phone, or if it's the technician calling the customer and being lazy to go out to the job and canceling the job before even going. So, I mean, like, obviously, I don't think we want to go in every feature of Workiz, but I'm saying like it basically gives you the option to really grow, and not to have people sit down and pay them to create reports with Excel sheets and whatever. For a company that is, again, 10, 20, 30 people, it gives more than a good enough solution. And I could say one of the best solutions out there on the market, if not the best as of now.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And, we've been happy to, scale and grow in the beginning with you as well, and continue to see how we can help you too moving forward. For moving forward purposes, I mean, what are your future plans and what's your goals for your locksmith business? We'd love to hear.
Well, we basically sold a percentage of our business to a private equity. And we're basically, we're going to be started already in the process. We're going to be going to a franchisee slash new, it's a new franchisee model that we're kind of making up as we go, because if you look on other franchise company in the industry of the locksmith or anything else, you could see that the way that they structured it in the 90s, right, was in the 90s, it was a great idea, because in the 90s you didn't have softwares and the expansion was not fast as of today. And we're trying to find like a model that is kind of like between whatever the old-fashioned franchisee offers to actually something that you could kind of upkeep, because one of the biggest problems of the franchisees as of today, that they give a territory, right, and they can't like go back if the performance is not good in the territory. They can't go back from the contract, and they're just like losing their name in a lot of different places if the franchisor is not doing a good job. So that's one of the plans that we have, and then my biggest plan is to try to, as much as possible, and that's also a recommendation for everyone building any service business, is to try not to be dependent on Google, and to try not to be dependent on any advertising platform. It doesn't mean that you don't need to use it, right? It's just not to be dependent on it, because unfortunately, and I think any person that is going to see this podcast is going to, and in the service industry is going to know what I'm talking about. Google could decide to destroy your business in less than a click of a person that doesn't even sit in the US. So one of our main goals is to reduce our dependency on Google, because that's kind of causing us to expand slower. Google takes a lot of time till they prove you, and so on and so on. So main two things, future plans is to expand franchise-wise and to make ourselves not dependent on Google and not share 20 to 30, depends on each one of his business, but between 10 to 30% with Google, not share profits with Google. Yeah, that's the plan. Then there's a few other stuff that I cannot talk about on this podcast, but you're going to see it probably in a year if you follow.
Jacob, we want to know. We want to know,
Sure,
but I get it. I respect it though, and we'll have to have you back on again in a year. I think that's what we're hearing now from that. All right.
Hopefully, if I succeeded, right?
Yeah. We're super excited to have had you on here today. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you being here, sharing your story, sharing a little bit more about, how locksmiths can grow their business, how you grow yours, and how Workiz has helped you through that through your time of since 2017. So again, thank you so much for being on here, and we'll be chatting soon. We got to hear the sneak peeks in the future.
Thank you very much for hosting, and hopefully I'm gonna succeed in order for you to actually call me to come back, right?
Oh, you will. You will. We'll be right here waiting for you. Thank you for tuning into the Workiz podcast. We hope today's episode has provided valuable insights and inspiration to propel your business forward. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for more engaging discussions and expert advice on navigating the dynamic landscape of the field service industry. I hope you got to unplug a little with us. Until next time, keep innovating, growing, and delivering exceptional service. We'll see you in the next episode of Workiz Unplugged.